Welcome back to another episode of Navigating Postpartum with me, Jaree Williams. And if you don't know, I'm a wellness postpartum coach creating space for new moms to feel seen and heard. So if you are a mom or someone around you is a mom and you want to learn how to best support them, you can. And today we have a great conversation with Shacola. She is here. And everybody say, hey, Shacola. All right. And I'm going to pass it over so she can introduce herself.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Shacola. I am a mom of four, five if you include my furry pet, an educator and a business owner.
Ooh, did y'all hear that? She said she a mom, she an educator, and a business owner. You go, girl. I told y'all we can do it all. We just gotta learn how to prioritize what we want to do.
Yes,
It's all about.
yes.
So I want you to tell us, how old are your kids?
My children are 28, 27, 16, and 15.
Oh wow, yeah, you got grown kids now, so you
Yes,
can you can help the mamas out in
yes,
the beginning stages.
right.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
So yes, tell us a little bit about your motherhood journey as a mom of four, and excuse me, five with the furry pet.
Right. Five with my son. He's up here sleeping in his bed. So my journey is that of a teenage mom. So I had my first son when I was 16 years old. And it was hard, of course. I mean, but I did have support. I had his dad's family, my grandma, my family, but it was still a struggle because I had to manage school, my baby. I went out and got a job, so it was really hard for me. I ended up having to be homeschooled because it became so hard. With that, I turned around and had my second son at 17.
Mhm.
Ooh, added another life into my own and then more on my plate. I had to leave my job because now I have two babies at home. Um, and trying to finish up school with babies and work and all of that became a struggle. So I had to prioritize, as you made very clear, we need to do that. And so I prioritized, and the children and my education were more important. But like I said, I had the support. So the job wasn't mandatory. Like I didn't really need it, but I wanted it because I wanted to feel independent and I wanted to be the one taking care of my children. That was my mindset. But my grandma very much let me know that you're not in this alone and I got you. Okay. And so there went that. I moved out on my own when I was 18 years old. Um, I've never been back. And so that in itself was
It's
tricky for
amazing.
me.
Yeah.
That in itself was tricky for me. So I'm out on my own. I'm 18 years old. I have these children. Now I need a job. School is over. So with that, I didn't even go straight into college because I couldn't. I didn't have the ability to do so. Um, so it wasn't until my third son came, which was about 12 years later, that I was able to go back to school. Um, and I had him, and I thought I was handling everything fairly well until I had my daughter, and she was the last of the four, and things just went kind of out of the window. I everything I was holding in, and everything had built up, and everything I thought I was dealing with appropriately, just exploded in my life, and I was a wrecking ball. I just want to put that out. Like it was bad. And I didn't want to ask for help because I felt like, I've always been the strong person. I've always been able to handle whatever came my way. I've always been able to make the right decisions, for myself and my children. And so I felt like asking for help was a weakness. And they would see me as needy and things like that. And so I didn't ask for help for a long time. It wasn't until one day my husband walked into our apartment and I had kicked into the heating unit from frustration. And he was like, whoa, what is going on? Are you okay? Where are the children? And it was just a whirlwind of, no, I'm not okay, and
Yeah.
it was a
It was
mess.
your breaking point.
It was my breaking point. Yeah, it was my breaking point. And she was an infant. And, of course, the older boys were older. And then my Charles, who's the third one, he was about, I don't know, one and a half, close to two, something like that. And But then we finally got help, and he was like, I need you to see somebody. He was very supportive, even though he did not understand um, what was going on. He had no clue. It had come to, he's like, is that why I would leave the house and not come back? And he was like, I don't, he just assumed, she's having time with her friends. She's hanging out, she's enjoying herself. And he was giving me that, and I appreciated it, but it wasn't just that. It was me escaping all of it. I don't want to be bothered. I don't, and I breastfed. So he was grabbing milk out of the freezer, or using, Charles didn't breastfeed as long, so we had like a organic powder. He would use that for her if he ran out of breast, because where's her mom, but it was hard.
Do
It
you
was really
think from
tricky.
being a young mom, it kind of impacted that experience? Because it was just like if you had kids like back to back, and then you had that gap,
Hmm.
and you're starting all over, and you're trying to carry that weight of like, oh, I want to be the strong woman, the strong Black woman, because I don't want to be seen
Hmm.
as needy. So, do you think that had an impact on how you handled all of that?
Totally. Totally. I totally do. Just being young in that space, and like I said, I had the support, but I also had the mindset that these are my children. I need to do this. I need to be the one to provide for them. I need to be the one to be there every waking moment. I need to be their everything, right? And at no point was I thinking about taking care of me. I never thought about that. That wasn't my priority. It really crossed my mind. Like, I'm gonna be okay. I need to make sure they're okay. And that was always my mindset, um, until I was like, I'm not okay. I
Yeah.
can't do anything for them if I'm not okay.
Do you think it
So yeah.
became harder when you moved out? Because I know you mentioned you moved out at 18. And 18, yeah,
Hmm.
it's tough because you're still trying to figure out who you are. You're trying to figure out
Hmm.
what you want to do, but you have two other kids to think about. So, like, how
Hmm.
did that feel? How was that for you when you moved out and lived on your own with two kids and trying to work?
So in the beginning, of course, you can only imagine the freedom I thought I was having. I'm like, oh, I'm on my own, because as I got older and with the two children, my grandma was like, you may not leave here and not tell me where you're going. Like, I need to know where you are. I need to know, and I'm in my mind like, I'm a grown up. Like, I don't have to tell anybody where I am, not thinking about the safety aspect of it.
Hmm.
She just wants to make sure I'm okay, don't leave here, and I need to know where you're going. I need to know you're not coming back, and things like that. And I really didn't get it. I
Yeah.
just didn't. I was like, she's trying to keep tabs on me, I'm out of here. And so I went and got my own place, and at first, like I said, there was this feeling of so much freedom. I kept telling all of my friends, like, oh yeah, I'm on my own and this and blah blah blah. And most of them still lived at home. So it was like, ooh, she has her own place.
Yeah, let's go hang out
Um,
over there.
yeah, let's go all the time. Okay, you hear me? My place was the spot all of the time, right? No adults will, our
Yeah.
parents weren't there, and like we were having a time. Okay, but when things started to get real was when I realized, hey, girl, you're in charge of these bills, you're in charge of these children, you're in charge of their food. Like, you have to get yourself together. And I was like, okay. So my very first apartment was a, a subsidized apartment. So it was, I guess, according to your income, And
Yeah, yeah.
so I'm like, yeah, So I'm like, okay, cool, I can do this. Girl, I could not do it. But I was just like, okay, I have to get myself together. And I maintained, but realizing that everything was on me, on
Mhm.
top of everything else, was a reality check in itself,
Yeah.
because you're not at home with grandma. Now, while she was checking for you and she was making sure you told her where you went, and she was, having you call her if you weren't coming home, all of that, she was also paying the rent. You didn't have to worry about lights. She bought the food. You know what I mean? And so it was like, oh, I'm grown, because I don't have anybody to buy my eggs, or, like, I have to do that. I have to go to the grocery store. I'm the one who has to make the food. And so it
It
got
was
real,
heavy.
real fast. It was heavy. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
and
was
then
heavy.
especially thinking too, like, how was postpartum, like being young, how was postpartum? Because I know even for me, although hold on, I was 25, turning
Mhm,
26, something like that with my first son, and I thought that
mhm.
was hard. So I can only imagine like just being young and going through that. So can you tell us how was your postpartum experience with being younger?
So, let me just say, I didn't know what that was.
Okay.
I didn't know what that was. I was very unaware of a lot of things when it came to the handling of life after those babies. I wasn't told, I wasn't taught. Um, no one shared things with me. And my grandma had 10 children and adopted two.
Mm,
So she raised 12 and then me, but there was still no conversation about, hey, this may be this way, or you may feel X, Y, and Z. Let me know if you get overwhelmed. There was no, I mean, and while she let me know I'm here, but it was just in a support way of, if you need to go take a shower, I'll keep an eye on the baby, or things like that. As well as his mom too. She was very supportive. His mom was amazing, right? But and he was too. I won't take that from him because the older boys don't. Oh my lord, this boy knows I'm in this meeting. I'm sorry. The older boys, um, and my husband, the older boy's dad and my husband are not the same person.
okay.
So, but their dad was very good. He was a great dad when it came to them and things like that. So his mom was very supportive too, but still no one set me down and said, hey, you may go through this, or if you're feeling this way, let us know. And I really think it's because they weren't allowed to do that.
Mhm.
That older generation, there was no, mm-mm, we're not talking about that.
Yep.
We're not, you're not sad.
And they
Like you
weren't
just had
able
a
to feel
baby.
their emotions
Yeah,
because they
you
were
weren't
too
able to
busy. Yep, too busy focused
exactly.
on everyone else.
Yeah, you had to focus on everything else. You had to focus on everything else. You had to be strong. You had to not be weak. And that's the part that I feel like we're taught that that's weak. Asking
Mhm.
for help is weak, when asking for help is probably the strongest thing you can do, because it's letting people know, hey, I don't have it all together. I need someone. Let's prioritize meeting people, because that is healthy. That's
Yeah.
healthy, and so it was tricky. It
Yeah.
was very tricky
And
because
I
I
love
wasn't
that.
allowed.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and I love that you brought up the point about like asking for help because it's like, in a way, when you first ask for help, it's kind of humbling if you were raised like, oh, you can do it all or figure it out on your own. But when you ask for help,
Right.
it's like, I'm humble enough. And that shows like, that's a whole nother thing to unpack. But it's like, I'm humble enough to ask for what I need so I can take care of
Hmm.
myself. Because
Yes.
oftentimes, I know even as Black women, we feel like we have to carry that burden on our own, like, we have to carry that weight, even if it's
Oh.
like, I feel like I'm about to snap, but it's just like,
Hmm.
you have to have that safe space to talk to someone to be like, "Okay, I'm not good," because people are gonna think, "Oh, well, she is fine, she look good, she
Hmm.
look like she holding
Hmm.
up, she not asking for anything." So how can people really understand what you need if you're not voicing
Right.
it? Because nobody can read your mind, nobody can
Yes.
tell you, like, how you should feel, but you have to be able to have confidence in the safe space that you have to do that. And I'm glad
Yeah.
you really had support during that time. But do
Hmm.
you think do you think it made a difference when you had kids later down the line and you were kinda more aware about postpartum?
Um, yes and no. So it's a double-edged sword because I feel like I still try to handle it all myself.
Mhm.
Um, and again, not being fully aware of what that was, because that when you add postpartum, but everybody else adds that last word, and that last word is a bad word, even though it's not
Mhm.
depression, right? So it's looked at like I'm not depressed, like I'm good.
Yeah.
No, that's not what that means. You know what I mean? And so that stigma had me scared,
Mhm.
and that's the truth. That stigma had me scared, like depressed. No, depressed people hurt themselves, or depressed, and it was really um being ignorant to the fact of what it really was. I was very ignorant to what all of that entailed. And it wasn't until that breaking point, my husband was like, we got to get you somebody. And thank God for Dr. Carlos, because baby, without her, like my whole life shifted when I went to her. Everything about my parenting, my, the way I became, changed as a wife, everything changed once I sat down and spoke with her continuously and got my life together,
Is
for
she a
lack of a,
therapist?
better word. Yes.
Okay, yes. So that's
Mm-hmm.
important though. I think seeking therapy is one of the ways that we can better ourselves, like especially if you are
Mm-hmm.
going through postpartum
Mm-hmm.
depression or anxiety, or you have, post-traumatic stress or OCD.
Mm-hmm.
It's a long list of different factors that are not talked about enough. But I know
Yep.
when you seek that, like how you mentioned, you became a better
Mm-hmm.
parent. You became
Yep.
like it was a shift in you. And I see now, like as your kids are older, and I see
Mm-hmm.
you on, going out taking trips and like really just taking care of yourself. Like
Mm-hmm.
that is just amazing. And I just want the moms to listen who are listening to know, like, even though the season that you're in doesn't always, that season's going to end.
Yeah.
So if you're like struggling with the transition, I know it's hard. And
Mm-hmm.
especially if you have more than one.
Yes.
But don't
Ooh.
feel like you have to take on the weight alone. And like how you mentioned, there are people who want to help you and
Yep.
want to see you succeed. So my thing is, what tip would you give to a new mom right now?
Um, the first tip I would give to a new mom right now is that you can't pour from an empty cup. So having a new baby um, is wonderful, but it's also challenging.
Mhm.
So I would just advise her to speak up, speak out. Hey, I'm unsure of this. I'm unaware. I don't know about this. I have questions. I need answers. And don't stop. If one person has no clue, move on to the next person. Find the people who can and want to help you, because some people can but aren't willing, and that's okay.
Yep.
That's okay. But find the people who can and want to help you, and don't stop until you are okay with where you are, and be okay with that. Because a lot of the problem is we're like, if I, ask for help or tell them I don't know, they're gonna think I'm a bad mom, or I'm a bad person. I couldn't breastfeed my son. He didn't like it. And for me, that was like, he doesn't like it. Like, I'm supposed to be his food. Like,
Yeah.
he's gonna die if I can't feed him. Like, what's gonna happen? And I had to find somebody who was like, girl, chill. It's okay. This is what we're going to do. And, they gave me all of the tips and the things. And, it ended up that it, I wasn't producing enough milk. But again, that made me feel bad, and I'm like, oh, why can't I do this? My body is made wrong. Like, I went through a whole thing, but asking for help and finding solutions and having people want to help me and be there for me and assist me, it made a difference. So I would tell them to find those people, ask for that assistance. Don't worry about if you're being needy or if you're asking too much. That's necessary for you, for the baby, for your mental health. It is very necessary. If you are unsure, seek help.
Ooh, that's so amazing. Cause that's just amazing. Y'all speak up, okay? It makes a
Mm-hmm.
difference. And if you're like, you're a new mom and you're like, postpartum is not planning out like I thought it would,
Mm-hmm.
please reach out. Go to my website, worthyforever.com. I have postpartum planning guide. I do one-on-one sessions. I want you to be able to have these resources. And let me be honest, if I don't have that resource, I know someone who
Mm-hmm.
can. I know there are therapists.
Yes.
I know there are midwives. Y'all, there's
Mm-hmm.
lactation consultants, just like Shacola mentioned.
Yes.
It was tough breastfeeding. I had a lactation consultant with my first son. Made a
Mm-hmm.
big difference because I didn't know he had a
Mm-hmm.
lip or a tongue tie. So there are
Right.
so many resources, mamas. Don't feel like you have to carry it all on your own. And Shacola, where can these mamas find you? Because I know you have your active wear on right now. Tell them about what you do.
Okay. So my family and I have an activewear brand. Back in 2020, my husband and I, because we were stuck,
Yeah.
decided we're going to go on this path of healthiness, and we're going to exercise, eat right, get ourselves together. in the midst of doing that, Jaree, I could not find decent priced quality workout wear that was sold separately because I am a heavy top. I have a heavy bottom, but the top is heavier. So I
Mm.
needed a larger top and
Oh, that
medium
sound like
bottom.
me.
Yeah. So I said, you know what, I'm struggling. And I went into places like Walmart and stuff like that, but it was cheap. And when
Yeah,
I say cheap, I'm not meaning price, I mean the
like
quality.
quality. Yep.
It it wasn't supporting the girls. I needed something else. you
Yeah.
know, but I didn't want to pay $100 for a pair of leggings. I didn't want to pay, things like that. I honestly didn't. And so I was like, well, my husband came to me one night and I had already been thinking about it. And he's like, let's create our own.
Mm.
Let's give you what you need. Let us do that together. And so we went about this journey of finding, manufacturers, testing fabric and, all of that stuff. And the Westway Active was born, and we told the children what we wanted our logo to look like. They created that. And so, it was just a whole family dynamic. And
A
we came
family
together and
business.
yes, a family business. And so we came together and we still, do it together. We test fabrics. We um create what we want. My son is the artist, so he'll draw out the design. I say, hey, I want it to look like this, and he'll do it. We'll send it to, our manufacturer and they come up with our piece for us to sample and then we put it into production. But yeah, so that's what the Westway Active is all about. It's the brand for every body. The body part is most important. And we range from extra small to 4X. Because I want anybody to feel left out. If you have a extra large bottom, but a XS top, we got you. We got you. Okay.
Yes.
I want everybody to feel included. So yeah, they can find me, the westwayactive.com. That's the website for our active wear. And we also have tracksuits and this hoodie I'm wearing that comes with joggers. Everything is sold separately, of course, which was very important
Yes.
to us, because everybody is made differently.
Yes.
And then, yes, ma'am. So, and then Sweet Life on Instagram, because he let me tell it, I am living one. And then also on Threads, I am Sweet Life. So, yeah, I just,
Yes. Well, thank you
you
for taking
know,
the time to
of
join
course.
me, pouring into us. I think I love the best part that you told me about your story is like, although you were a young mom, but that's
Hmm.
not the end of your story. You
Mm-mm.
kept going, and now look
Yep.
at you now. And you never know where
Yep.
life is going to take you. And using
Not
your
ever.
experience, it just like even poured into me a little bit. I'm over here like, yes, like you got
Oh,
to just keep going, you know?
yes, just keep going. Yes. And like I did say, you brought it back up. I had my first baby at 16 and so I didn't go straight into college, but I didn't go until I had my third baby,
Yeah.
which I was 27, and so, and then I kept pausing, I continued, but I kept going. I did
Yeah.
not stop. I didn't let anything stop me. I took breaks,
And
I
that's
won't deny
okay.
that because I needed them. I needed
Mhm.
them. Breaks are okay, and sometimes we feel bad for them, but no, you need those breaks if you have to reset, you know, we don't panic, we pivot a little bit and
Ooh.
go on ahead. Oh, I got that from Mia Ray.
Yes, we don't
Yes,
panic,
she
we
said we don't
pivot.
panic,
Ooh,
we
that's good.
pivot.
Oh, that's
We
good.
pivot, yeah. So, and that's what I do. I've been pivoting, girl, a whole ballerina.
Yeah,
I
yeah. It's a lot of pivots in life,
yep.
but that's good. Well, you gotta have that.
Yep.
You gotta have that mentality, that growth
Yep.
mindset. Like things don't
Hmm.
look ideal, but it's not impossible. So I want
Exactly.
y'all to know
Yes.
that I'm gonna drop
Hmm.
Shacola's information in the description below. I was about to say the
Hmm.
bio, like we on Lord Jesus. But yes, until next
Uh-huh.
time, make sure you guys
Yes,
check
ma'am.
out worthyforever.com and let us know what you thought about this episode.